Hello, everyone, and I'm super excited to bring a very special and a beautiful guest with me, Akua. Hi, Akua. How
Thank
are you?
you.
So, Akua is the founder for the Dreamcatcher Global, and she is a transformational coach, and she has been doing amazing holistic healings and into the whole journey of life coaching. And previously, she was also the HR head for the NYU, and we have so much to talk about because I just found out that Akua has traveled over 81 countries. Isn't that amazing? So Akua, let's start and tell us about your journey.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, first and foremost, for having me here. Really appreciate it. And wow, I mean, it's been a beautiful journey. I've been in the UAE now since 2012. And I came here, as you mentioned before, to work in my career, which was then HR. And I spent 9 years working as in the HR function, and left as Deputy Chief People and Performance coming up to 3 years ago. And that was a big move for me, a life-changing move. And if you remember, 3 years ago was around COVID.
Yes.
And I think, a lot of people got a lot of time to really think about what's important in life, We had that time and space, and I recognized that as much as I loved working in HR, something has shifted for me, and that I didn't have that passion and fulfillment for my role anymore. And I knew it wasn't just about getting another role, that this was actually an opportunity to actually follow my heart and do something that was so different, but so
Amazing.
rewarding for me. And that's where this whole new journey has started with Dreamcatcher Global.
So tell me about the name. I love the
Yes,
name. It's
yes.
so like inspiring, and it just like hit the right spots.
Yes.
How did you come up with the name,
Wow.
and what is it about?
Yeah, so for me, it was really about leaning into living my dream, And on the surface, it felt like my dream. I had a very good corporate job, was living on Sadia Island in Abu Dhabi, traveling the world, but something was missing. And for me, having gone through this journey, I recognize that I am now living a life that once felt like a dream. And I really want to help other women to do the same thing. I want women to let them know that their dreams are attainable, that their dreams are valid, and that their dreams matter.
Beautiful.
And so I wanted to create a company that really referenced and acknowledged dreams. And Dreamcatcher and the global piece, because of just the global reach and the traveling that I love to do, and the women that I like to impact all over the world, felt right. So here I am as the founder of Dreamcatcher Global.
And so this is so amazing. You're just telling me that now your next, adventure is going to be going to Tanzania.
Yes, indeed. Yes, yes,
It's a
yes.
beautiful place. I still
Absolutely.
haven't been there. So traveling 81 countries.
86.
Wow. Okay, so tell me about this experience.
Wow. For me, I tend to love, I love to travel off the beaten track. For me, travel is about connection, cultural connection. And so I like to find spaces and places where I am really connecting with people. So places like I've gone to the Omo Valley in Ethiopia, where I've met major tribes with the lip plates and the earlobes, the different kind of adornments that they have. I've gone to Socotra to camp for 7 days.
Wow.
But the beauty there has been amazing, and that connection with the local people. I've spent time in India, in the Himalayas. Actually, I've just come back from bringing a group of women to a retreat there. And for me, travel is about stepping away from the norm, from the familiar, to spend time with yourself, but also to connect not with just yourself, but with nature, with the local community, and just step away from everything that is so day to day and give that space back to yourself. It's self-care, basically. That's how I see
Absolutely.
travel.
I'm just feeling so amused because it's usually a little bit fearful. Like some people have that anxiety when they're going to the unknown. They don't know what they're up for. And usually it's not always glamour.
Yes.
You have to also endure sometimes patience.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yes. That's all part of the journey. And for me, when I do my retreats too, they're very much by application only, because it's about being able to have those conversations with women to understand their why
Yes.
for wanting to attend, and to also be very upfront and say, listen, if you're looking for luxury 5 days a week, this is not going to be for you. This is about pushing you out of your comfort zone, and some of that could be staying in somewhere that's very simple, but actually the reward is everything that's around you.
Yes.
That you get to be in the mountains, you get to connect with local communities, you get to experience, a space and a place like you've never done before, because you're living in a place of simplicity, and sometimes that's where the magic is, right? In
Close to
simplicity.
nature.
Yeah.
Do you also involve all these adventurous activities like maybe zip lining or mountain trekking or water sports?
Yeah. I mean, I always try to infuse some adventure in there, because again, that's another element of taking women out of their comfort zones. And that could be anywhere from hiking. Mm-hmm. So, when I speak to India, because that's the latest one, these were women that had never hiked before. And so climbing this mountain, which wasn't necessarily Everest, but it was a lot to them. It was way out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
It was something they've never done before, and they really had to dig deep. And we'd come back afterwards and they'd kind of share their stories that they had to endure, on this. But then they talk about also the return, and having done it, this overwhelming sense of empowerment.
Yes.
I didn't think I could do it, but I've done it. And if I can do that, gosh,
amazing.
I know that I'm capable of so much more. And that's why I really create opportunities for women to step out of their comfort zone. Sometimes it could be we jumped into the river, and it wasn't about it being a deep or bustling, crazy river, but it was about a very cold river.
Wow.
And so there's these women that don't do cold. Some of them don't even swim, but again, they were willing to just step into something new, to challenge themselves. And again, I just love to see the magic that happens.
Yes. You are the magic, and you're creating this, because I think for women, especially in a certain age, it's so important to venture out into something new and to challenge yourself, to embracing all that beauty of nature around us that we are so shut down to.
Yes.
And we are just so used to the comfort zone. Do you also induce your, how do I say this, your transformational practices, because you are a coach?
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So in that retreat, do you also have that?
Absolutely. And actually it starts before the retreat. So there is a coaching session before,
wow,
a one-on-one session to really understand why they're here, the things that are holding them back. So that means that I can actually tweak, workshops during the actual retreat to align with what the women need. And then most importantly, and I say this, most importantly, there is a coaching session on the return, because what seems to happen in many retreats is people go away and they have an amazing time. They've got all of this support, and then they're back to everything that's familiar. They're back home, they're working with the children, they're going to work, and it's almost like, did that happen? Was that a distant dream, right? And while they're away, they've made these promises to themselves, I'm going to do this differently, but they get back and it's so easy to just fall back into life. So having that coaching session on the return, it's really about helping them being held accountable to some of the goals or some of the promises that they made to themselves while they were traveling. And then that can lead to ongoing sessions as well. But for me, it really is important to weave a coaching framework through my retreat, because really I'm there to help support these women, as you said, who really just want to find themselves again. They want to do something different. They may be at a crossroads in life. I had women there that were coming to a point where they were thinking of retiring. I had another woman there who just didn't feel happy in her job, and she made a big, bold decision that she was going to go back and literally quit. And that's what she's done. So, it really is a space and a place to really determine what you need without the noise of everyone else telling you what you need, but really leaning into your own intuition, your own gut, and me helping them to sort of dig deep and then peel, I say, like the onion skin, the layers, to really kind of get back to, but who are you? Because that's a simple question, but sometimes they kind of say, well, I'm a mom. No, who are you? I'm a sister. No, who are you? I'm a HR leader. No, who are you? And along the way, because of societal expectations, we've kind of just started to wear these hats, take on these roles in life. And then it's like a point of, I forgot who I am. And that for me is pivotal, particularly with empty nesters, right? I have clients who their children have flown the nest, and all of a sudden it's just like,
You're right, they're empty.
what do I do? What are all the things that I loved? I have no idea, you know? And it's really helping them to get back to that place of like, what are the things that bring you joy, you know?
Wow, I'm just feeling so calm and relaxed that there is a platform out there like what you have started to do. And the other most important part is when you take out someone right out from their comfort zone in a completely place of newness, new portals open inside your brain,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
And it kind of pushes you to go beyond your limited exposure and feel that it's larger than life.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, for me, behind all the work that I do is really, you know, NLP. And it is really about rewiring the brain. It's about all of those old stories that we may have told ourselves, that society might have told us. It's about how do we get rid of them? And so it's all about neuroplasticity. It's really about getting deep into that, but in a way that doesn't necessarily feel sciencey.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, so I say that I'm that person who has a way to combine soul and science in a very light way that you wouldn't think that I'm kind of going deep into NLP, but in a way that feels relatable for them, that feels familiar in a way and feels accessible to them without them feeling like, whoa, this is all going over my head, that's too much, you know? So I feel like that's a really important part of what I do. And even when I design my retreats, there's always that thinking in mind is, okay, I've got a 5-day retreat. How can I weave or create a framework and a way that really supports helping, you know, shed some of these limiting beliefs, shedding some of these stories, and really sort of reshifting and reframing, you know, how they look at themselves, you know.
Beautiful, yes.
And I love doing that. It's beautiful.
Something just crossed my mind. Do you find these interesting stories of your you know, your groups who like the before and after, and then they're like, oh my God, like, you know, Akua, I just felt so relieved. I'm feeling so, you know, I'm feeling this magic. What is their
you know, for some of the women as well, they have not been visible in their vulnerability. You know, they play this strong, independent person because they feel they have to, and there is no real space for them to let down their guard. And so for a lot of the women, that is kind of their sweet spot. They've been able to come into a space, feel safe, feel like they're being held, and tears have come. Sometimes anger have come out, but they're releasing a lot of things that they've been storing. And that release for them is been the kind of transformation that really has allowed them to sort of lean into making decisions, you know, when they get back home, recognizing some things about themselves that they hadn't done before. And a lot of it is really shifts in terms of how do I access my dreams? How do I change my life? How do I restore a relationship, or how do I let go of a relationship? But it's actually in a way giving them power back, you know? And for me to, you know, of course I have testimonials, and then of course I have the one-on-ones with them, but to really just have these updates from time to time to say, this is what I'm doing, and to know that this is kind of long lasting. And for me, it's also important to stay connected with them. So when my retreats finish, and even though they have this one-on-one coaching session, and some of them opt to take a longer session, there's also emails that go out regularly. We have a WhatsApp group that we stay connected with because we're there as a support system for one another as we separate from this journey, but also start this new journey that is about aligning with all the things that all the promises that were made once they were away.
I'm just falling in love with this whole, you know, your platform. How many people do you usually like have in a group, and how is it that they can connect and, you know, and then you finalize the final list? Yeah.
So for me, I try and keep the groups below 12. So 12 is the maximum number because it's really about creating an intimate experience and, you know, not having to shuttle too many people about. And I want those people to also be able to connect. And what also happens is that, as I said, there is an application process which allows us both to have a conversation beforehand to see if this is the right fit, you know, if we're the right fit for one another, and have these kind of conversations. How open are you to being visible in your vulnerability? How open are you to X, Y, Z? So we have these conversations ahead of time so that I know that the group that I'm putting together is a good fit and a good
Yes.
match for each other. So that happens. And then what we do is prior to the actual retreat, because people are coming from all over the world, so we're not just talking about the UAE. We're talking about, I had people from New Zealand, from the UK, from the
Beautiful.
US. And so it's really then connecting these people together beforehand. So there is a sense of connection already. And we have a Zoom.
Yes.
We also have like a cultural orientation on the Zoom. So I bring in a partner that I work with, and the partners are normally, and I strive to find people in the local community, because for me it's about giving back to the local community, ensuring the money is in and stays in the local community. And often or not as well, I also look for women partners. And so we get on a call together. And, you know, I also, because some people have fears around cultural differences, you know, what would it be like to go to India? I'm not too sure. And so she would,
Exactly,
we'd
yeah.
have this very open and honest conversation. You can ask questions without any judgment, so that you have a level of comfort, you know, in terms of being able to respect
So
the
important,
local culture.
yes.
And that's me as well, with my travel background, but also my HR hat on, in terms of respecting the local communities. We want to make sure that we're dressing a way that is respectful, particularly if we're going to be out in the villages. It's so important. And that's why for me, these retreats aren't just your retreats, they are a cultural immersion, a real cultural immersion, where you really get to connect up close and personal with local people, particularly with local women. So I always bring groups of local women together when we travel.
Wow.
Because it's so important, you know, and a lot of that is just modeled off the way that I've traveled over the years, and how that has really nourished my soul and helped me grow and helped me make those decisions, like leaving a successful job,
Yes, a job,
and
which is-
taking a risk.
Which is a big challenge.
Yeah,
It
taking a
is.
risk, yeah.
And what I really love is that most oftentimes when we plan out a trip, and we're quite lonely, it's very boring.
Yeah.
I mean, you are investing a good money, you are taking out that precious time from your busy schedules, and then at the same time you want those good valued relationships. So I just think that holistically you are just, you know, checking all the boxes for the travelers, where they bring back such amazing memories, because you have done all your homework, your research, the
Absolutely.
right people, and you know, like this tribe, and you have this, you know, connection with the people who are the originators from that place.
Absolutely.
Who can share the, you know, I mean, it's not just a tourist thing. It's more like adding value and
Yes.
familiarizing them with that unique culture.
Yeah. For me, it's also giving back, you know. And we go and we also kind of say, well, how can we contribute to your community? Is there a local school that we can visit and bring some books? And we do things like that. So we as a collective, because these women, they're very happy. They bring things with them. We go visit local schools. It could be hospitals. It could be shelters for women who have gone through domestic violence. We really want to find a way to give back. So this is more,
Wow.
and so this is, as I say, it goes beyond just being a retreat. It's so much more. And when you start to have those interactions with the local women, that's also very transformational. So there's transformation in terms of the work that we do when we're there. But when you get to hear some of these stories of resilience, of what some of these women have gone through, it kind of puts things into perspective for you and makes you think differently about what you're going through. Not to belittle it in any way, but to kind of recognize, wow, those women are going through a lot.
Exactly.
And we actually come away learning something from the women that we meet.
Absolutely. And I'm just, when is your next, adventure happening?
Yes, so our next adventure is going to be Zanzibar in September. I'm looking at doing some things in the UAE as the weather cools and stays cool. So
Yes,
stay
you should.
tuned for that. I'm hoping to do a hike in the mountains. So it's just a day hike. But again, I try to infuse the outer adventure and inner journey, some mindfulness techniques as we go along there, some meditation, connection with nature. Wonderful food in a great spot, but that's going to be confirmed. But stay tuned.
Wow.
And also looking at doing some weekend retreats as well in March. So yes.
Fantastic. So the international trip that you embark on, it's once in a year.
I normally do twice in a year.
Okay.
But this time I have another commitment during the first half, so I decided that I was going to only do one. But things may shift. And I think for me, one of the things that I realize, as much as I'm doing things that I'm passionate about, I also made the decision to leave my corporate job for freedom and for flexibility. So I want to do things that feel right to me,
Yes.
and not necessarily because I'm trying to squeeze in all of these retreats and do 5, 6, 7, 8 retreats a year. That goes against, what I signed up for in all of this. But I just want to create these spaces for women, and if they, if more happens over time because it naturally happens, then
Of
so
course.
be it. But for me, it's just like, let's just do a couple of year and do some other things on the ground and just be open to flow,
Amazing. Yes, absolutely. So I want to ask you, now that 2024 is finishing, how are you looking at 2025? And for the listeners listening to us on this podcast, what are the insights and wisdom that you would like to share?
Yeah. So I would say this, particularly around New Year's, because New Year's is a time when everyone says, okay, I'm going to create these New Year's resolutions. I'm going to do all of these different things. And we know that a lot of the time they're not necessarily long-lasting change. And I've started to look at those things very differently and share this with my clients too. And I'm saying that what you need to consider doing for your resolutions is not come from a place of scarcity. So a lot of the times when we create these resolutions is because, okay, oh my God, I'm desperately wanting to lose weight, or I'm desperately wanting new money, and actually turn that around from a place of, abundance, right? So enter those resolutions from a place of not fear and scarcity, but a place of love, kindness, and abundance. And that little switch can make a lot of difference, because you're not now chasing something, and if it fails, you feel like you're a failure. You're just leaning into something that feels right for you, and it's just giving back to yourself, basically. So that's something I would definitely say to consider. And then secondly, it's really about giving yourself grace.
Beautiful.
Giving yourself grace and allowing an opportunity for things to also flow. So not necessarily having all of these intentions, which are great, but leave some room for this beautiful universe to work its magic, for sure. So, and just sit in your, your intentions or your resolutions. Don't, find a place in nature and just let it happen very organically. Yes. Let's not sit at a desk until I got to write these things down. Lead into your heart. What is your heart telling you? What is your heart? Feel your intuition and lead from there. And I think for people who don't necessarily do that now, that could be a real shift, but also a very surprising way where, mindsets help you move towards some of those resolutions without actually feeling like you're forcing them.
Beautiful. And you feel like you can move mountains with this patience, with this effortless attraction that you bring in by just being in your center.
Absolutely.
And also, Akua, how are you applying these transformational techniques? Like what kind of, because I know there are different kinds of NLP practices.
Yes.
So when you are with your clients, like what is it that, what tools are you
so
using?
I've kind of designed a framework called Unbecoming. And for me, what happens in the world is we all try and become, that's what we're trying to becoming, or we want to be this, we want to be that. And I'm kind of reminding women that at their core, that's who they've always been, But at a certain age, around 7, the conditioning really kicks in, and everything from the external world starts to sort of shape who we are in our own lives. So for me, it really is starting off in terms of going back to self. That's the core, that's the foundation of where I am with my program, because when you truly know who you are, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. And a lot of that also comes with, what are your values? How many people know what their values are? And for me, I believe it's really important for us to really all know what our core values are. And it doesn't have to be anything that's lofty, but what are the things that I actually enjoy,
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be like, okay, I can't think of my values, for one of them is curiosity, compassion,
Beautiful.
integrity, right? These are my types of values. But a lot of these come from the things that I enjoy doing. So curiosity is just something that I remember from a child. I've always been a curious soul. I've always wondered what it would be like to travel to the moon or travel to these different places. Compassion. I travel to all of these places and I have these connections with people, and it leaves this feeling. So for me, it's about how can we help you to get back to the core and really think about what those values are for you. So there's things around values that are so important. And then, of course, there is the confronting stuff, the stories that we tell ourselves.
Yes.
You know, and that a lot
and
of
how
that.
much of those stories are true or made up or just not actually, like really adding.
Yeah, I think
value.
what happens is we tend to let those stories define who we are, and those stories aren't us. Those stories are things that we've been telling ourselves or people have been telling us, and they've just kind of somehow taken up residence in our brains, in our minds, right?
Yes.
They're not paying rent, by the way, but they're there.
And
Right?
it's a burden. It's
Yeah.
like a weight that you're just carrying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's vague. It's not real. It's not adding any positivity.
Yeah.
It's just diverting you from accomplishing what you truly
Absolutely, absolutely. And for me also, one of the key things that I use as well is meditation. I started my meditation journey just over 5 years ago, and it took me a while. I wasn't consistent for many, many years, but I've got this beautiful morning practice that also includes journaling. And these are some of the things that I help, and encourage my clients to do as well, because I've seen the transformational nature of journaling. And meditation also, in that I create personalized meditations for my clients.
Wow.
So where there is a particular issue where, for example, somebody might be, when it comes to boundaries, they're not necessarily setting boundaries or allowing those boundaries for themselves. And they're in a particular situation where I'm not there for them to have a conversation, and they're about to their anxiety is now going and they don't know what to do. So I create these personalized meditations that are about 5 minutes long that they have on their phone that they can then go to, find a quiet space, and literally lean into this meditation that is just for them to kind of
Beautiful.
level them out and also help them in that moment of time and remind them also of all the work that they've done so far. So there's these little sprinkles of magic that I sort of put into my
Yes.
coaching to really, ensure that people know that this is for you. This isn't just an off-the-shelf cookie cutting,
Right.
coaching program.
It's designed
This is-
exclusively to your
Absolutely,
needs.
absolutely. So
Wow.
yeah.
I just can't wait to have a session with you, and I would love for everyone to connect with Akua, because I think the works that she's doing is truly remarkable. It is so much need of the hour, because we spend so much our times buying things and engaging in a lot of senseless, movie watching but taking out that unique, precious time for yourself with the right practitioner who can give you the tools for life, which can actually help you redirect your life towards the actual visions that you want to achieve. How can people connect with you? And do share your links. And
Yes.
what is that you want to leave your audience with? Something valuable.
Wow. So let me start with the leaving the something valuable, because I think that's the most important right now. I think one of the biggest things that keeps us from our dreams is fear. And fear is false evidence appearing real. It's something that actually hasn't even happened yet. It's our kind of projection of this is going to happen to me, and it hasn't happened yet. And so I would say to individuals is that, honestly, lean into fear, change your relationship with fear. These are some of the big things I do in my work, helping them to change their relationship with fear, because on the other side of fear is absolute magic.
Beautiful.
If you think about all the things that scared me, but here I am today, living a life that I wouldn't be living if I'd succumbed to fear and just decided to stay in my comfort zone. So that would be my last
So profound.
message. Yeah, for sure.
Overcoming the fear
Yeah.
that is stopping you, and it's blocking,
Yes.
and it's that obstacle from experiencing and being on the other side.
Yeah, it's blocking your blessings, basically. That's what's happening.
So can you share your Instagram?
So you can find me on Instagram at Journey with Akua. That's Journey with AKUA. And also my website is www.dreamcatcherglobal.co, not .com. And reach out for more information on my coaching programs that are about to open in January, my online coaching programs, and more about my retreats in 2025.
Fantastic. I am so excited about having this session. You shared such golden nuggets and beautiful insights, and I'm sure the listeners have absolutely tapped into it, and especially the last part about overcoming your fear. and that is where you are now. And you are, along with your beautiful vision, helping so many beautiful souls and bringing them to experience these beautiful travels and experiences. And can't wait to connect with you on another journey. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and we surely look forward to seeing you next time.